It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Wednesday. So, over the hump we go.
Today's show is sponsored by chocolate-covered beaver tail, made with authentic artificial beaver tails.
It's the authentic artificial that I like the most. Anyway.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave. Several things I have to do here to start the morning. I just realized as I was getting here and setting everything up, for you Trump fans out there, if you're not a Trump supporter, you might want to tune out for just a little bit here, just a moment or so. It's been exactly 1 week since we all realized that Trump was going to be the next president of the United States. And it's been a week of leftist freakouts and meltdowns and so on, which I would think at some point they would want to get over it and move on. Oh, we did do a wellness check. Do not know where Dave from San Francisco is. He hasn't called in yet. But our liberal friend Greg from Laramie, he called in yesterday. He's doing fine. He's very disappointed in all of this, but he'll wait it out. He's doing just fine. He made the unfortunate mistake of 1 week ago watching MSNBC for all of the election results. So that had an effect on him, negative-wise, but he's doing fine. Meantime, we're doing constant wellness checks on Liz Cheney, just to see how she's doing. Liz, how are you? Okay. Not really sounding all that good. Okay, so we'll continue to check in on Liz from time to time to see how she's doing. It just really doesn't sound all that good to me, but at some point, she hasn't even said anything. Have you realized that? It's been a week. She hasn't said anything yet. She hasn't been on any networks, nowhere. So you kind of got to wonder what she's up to right about now. All right. Let's put all that aside because we've been talking about it for about a week or so. Instead, let's pick a completely different topic, something that'll really make your day. Ladies and gentlemen, your favorite song.
Well, I like guns. I like the way they look. I like the shiny steel and the polished wood. I don't care if they're big or small. They're for sale, hell, I want them all. I like guns, I like guns, I like guns.
And we head over to the University of Wyoming and the story according to Cowboy State Daily. And also I got some from our man in Cheyenne, Doug, on this too. A reversal of its long-standing gun policy, University of Wyoming might allow some students to conceal carry firearm on campus. Now, when I look at that and I think, well, if they don't think that people have been concealed carrying already, guarantee you it's happened. This would just make it legal, which it already is under the Constitution, but reading on. The upcoming public forum will provide information about the content of the draft rule, which would allow law-abiding, there's the key, and qualified people to carry firearms in many university buildings, according to a statement from the University of Wyoming. The full extent of the changes to the draft rule could bring, well, it was under wraps so far, but they're working on it. Well, it is expected to go online public today, which is today, Wednesday. UW professor told Cowboy State Daily he declined to give any more details about it. The first webinar is set for 12:30 p.m. this this Thursday, which will focus on informing people about the details of the draft rule. An in-person town hall meeting is set for 12:30 p.m. next Monday, West Ballroom, University of Wyoming. And you can imagine there's people who are for it, there's people who are against it. Governor Gordon, the draft rule public forum, our response to the conditions set by Governor Mark Gordon, in March, he vetoed the bill to eliminate Wyoming gun-free zones. UW president said in a statement, quote, as part of the veto of House Bill 125 during the 2024 legislative session, which would have allowed for anyone to lawfully carry a concealed weapon to do so on public property, including University of Wyoming, Mark Gordon charged state agencies, including UW, to take up these difficult conversations again and establish their own policies that would allow for a safe carry. So it's how the governor vetoed it, not that he's completely against it. Okay, so it's all in this long-standing effort to end gun-free zones. And I come down on the side of if somebody had bad intentions, they're going to carry a gun on campus. And it would be nice to have good people with guns to be able to do something about it. And having someone who carries a gun to work is not, that doesn't mean that they're suddenly going to freak out and start shooting people. All right. Here's our story by our man in Cheyenne, Doug Randall. University of Wyoming Board of Trustees is expected to consider a draft rule for concealed carry firearms. It's now in this November 20 through 22 meeting. The proposed rule has not been published, not yet, but that is expected to happen on the website probably tonight, again, as the other story had said. UW Farms Research Center, which is based at UW College of Law, plans 2 public events. And again, the story talks about the 2 events, which I just explained to you. You can go ahead and go to the online event, which is slated for Thursday at 12:30 p.m. And there's another in-person event that's supposed to happen on next Monday. So if you want to go and discuss this with people in person, be part of the discussion, okay. And this can get us into the whole gun debate once again, but I think we've already had this debate over and over again. And so for me, I don't even think it's a matter of rehashing the debate, because we've already had the debate. And we have seen school shootings, not just in middle schools and high schools, but it occasionally does happen on the college campus somewhere. And I like the idea that it has to be a law-abiding citizen. And I believe, we'll see what they come up with, but I believe part of this is they have to get a concealed carry permit in order to be able to do it, which further means a law-abiding citizen and someone who's gone through a course and so on, and fine. Then they can go ahead and carry concealed if they want to go ahead and do that, not just because they feel safer, but I do believe it would make the campus a whole lot safer as well. So my opinion on it. We'll see what happens tonight. By tomorrow, I should have the details on what the draft rule says. And then the discussion that happens on Thursday online and the discussion that happens in person on Monday with people is opening up to the public to allow people to have a say in this, in this discussion. We'll see what happens. I remember a few years ago, you folks remember a few years ago, there was a challenge to this on the UW campus where the Wyoming legislator passed a rule about allowing people to carry and getting rid of gun-free zones. But the University of Wyoming had written its own rules saying, but not here. And there were some people who showed up to challenge that, including at an event, somebody showing up open carrying a gun. And that went to court. And if you remember that far back, that is part of what leads up to this now. So hopefully by Thursday, we'll have, and I'll be able to read to you some of what the rulemaking ordinance, whatever it is, says, and then we can get into the discussion about what happens with the online discussion Thursday and the in-person discussion on Monday. And hopefully, finally, we can settle all of this.
Found anything yet? Nothing yet, sir. How about you? Not a thing, sir. What about you guys? We ain't found.
Admit it, you were hoping somebody would say that. And we're back. Sorry, we were busy tricking pescatarians into eating Rocky Mountain oysters. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
.23 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. I wasn't going to go back to this, but I kind of have to. If you listen, when we get to the first break in the morning there, we have the Ag Report. And the Ag Report decided to do something about what we talked about yesterday, the FDA and the butter recall. That's not all butter everywhere. It's about 80,000 pounds of butter because there was an ingredient missing on the label. And I said, that ingredient, some people have harmful effects because of that one ingredient. And the ingredient is milk, which is what you make butter out of. Now, one listener yesterday said, well, you can make it out of cream, which comes from milk. So it's dairy. And everybody knows that butter is made from dairy. So, okay, here's the straw. I'll do this again. Costco recalled nearly 80,000 pounds of butter. If I was the CEO of Costco, I would have told the FDA to pound sand. And let's go to court over this, because this is stupid. Let's see, 80,000 store brand butter last month because the product's label was missing milk in the ingredients. You could stick a sticker on there that says milk. The wholesaler recall varies two varieties of butter. About 46,800 pounds of its Kirkland signature unsalted cream butter and 32,400 pounds of Kirkland signature salted sweet cream butter because it emitted what is called an allergen. Now, when listening to the Ag Report, they tried to, it sounded to me, maybe I'm wrong, but it sounded to me like they tried to defend the FDA a little bit in this one, and I don't think it's defensible. I honestly don't. Okay, if the FDA wants to call this company and say, hey, make sure you put milk on your ingredients label, would you? Okay, from here on out, because you got a bunch of packages that don't have milk listed on it. So we want to make sure that you put milk on it. Thank you, appreciate that. But I would not have recalled all of the packages. Even the report that we just played for you, they said that, well, no one's gotten sick over this, so... But again, it sounded like they were trying to defend the FDA. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it sounded like to me. The FDA classified its action as Class 2 recall, which describes a situation in which exposure to the product may cause temporary or medically reversible adverse health consequences. The products were made by Continental Dairy Facility Southwest. The affected butter products include, and it goes down with all the butter products. The FDA did not immediately reply to requests for product-specific information. It's okay. General guidelines for the FDA advises customers who have purchased any recalled food to dispose of the product. So, if you bought this butter, the FDA wants you to dispose of it because it doesn't say it has milk in it. So they advise you to dispose of it. Now, there are times the FDA does the right thing, and I wish I had heard about it. I'm thinking back some years ago. I found myself really getting sick, and I one of the things I hate about getting sick, we all hate things about it, but is if I have to throw up. I hate that. That just drives me absolutely insane. Like, oh, God, I can feel it coming. Oh, please don't do that. And I hate it, but I hate throwing up. But I was heaving big time, really bad. And then I heard on the news that the FDA had warned, hey, there's a peanut butter out there, and it's got some salmonella in it. It's making people sick. So if you have that peanut butter, throw it out. And I looked at the peanut butter that I had just eaten, and I'm looking at the label. I'm going, oh, yeah, this is it. This is the company, the brand, the date. And so I threw that jar of peanut butter out. That's what I wish they were able to get word to me in advance, but they didn't know in advance. So I'll give them some credit on that. That's why we have the FDA. But this whole idea that, well, it doesn't have milk on the label. Again, Just call the company. And this is what I'm hoping Elon Musk will take care of, because he's supposed to be, when Trump gets into office, in charge of government efficiency. And I would like to add something to that in getting government efficiency and stupidity. Because something like this has just got to stop. Again, it makes more sense just to call the company and say, hey, could you start putting milk on there? Thank you, appreciate it. That's all we need you to do. And it would have been good. But the idea that they're advising people, if it doesn't say milk, throw it out. And people might not know, who've been buying butter all their lives, that they don't know that it has butter in it. Joel and Casper, morning, Glenn. On this whole milk and butter thing, I think this is where we need to let Darwinism take place. If you didn't know that butter is made from milk, I feel sorry for you. And no, I understand what you're saying. No, you're absolutely right. If you have some kind of an allergy to dairy products and you didn't know that butter was made from dairy, let Darwinism take over then. I don't know, because you're so stupid at that point. And so is the FDA. Coming up on 6:30, local news coming your way. Update on your weather forecast. Wake Up Wyoming.
Take Glenn anywhere with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
Time is 6:36. It's a Wednesday. It's Wake Up Wyoming. On a more serious note. So I wrote several articles over the course of the summer because here in Wyoming, specifically at the Casper and Natrona County Airport in Wyoming, a new facility was built. And it had to do with firefighter airplanes. Now, originally, they have these, one of the names for them is air tractor, but you've seen them as crop dusters, but they can be used for firefighting, among other things. You're familiar with the airplane if you live out here, I'm sure. And these are one-person airplanes, and they are really maneuverable, big engines on those. And they can be loaded up with fire retardant, things like that. And so we had like 4 of those out there at a little trailer facility. And I watch as not just fire retardant, but even water. They would hook up every year around fire season to a fire hydrant and run a long hose out to where the airplanes were, and then also load up fire retardant, and they would help fight fire. So this new facility was built just down the taxiway from there, and much bigger. It's got some big tanks filled with fire retardant, among other things. And they really put some serious work into it. Well, good, because this was a bad fire season. As you know, some years are better than others. A year before last, we had a entire spring, summer, and on into the fall where everything was green. We were all commenting on how green everything stayed. No chance of fire there, right? But then the worry was everything grew, especially the grass, grew so well, so long, that if we get into a dry season next year, and we did, this is next year, we got into a dry season, and wow, that stuff can really go, and it did. And got some thunderstorms that moved across. It didn't have a lot of rain, but a lot of lightning. That started up fires. We were in big trouble. Thankfully, they had finished that station at the Casper and Natrona County Airport, and I've been reporting on, not just on air, but writing stories with pictures for you guys about all sorts of different kinds of airplanes that they brought out there, including some really impressive big tanker airplanes that were meant to dump a whole lot of fire retardant. Okay, so this was posted, what I'm about to play for you, by the Casper and Natrona County Airport, a little video they put up.
This season, having the new base open and the ability to reload large air tankers, we flew out over 856,000 gallons of retardant. To compare that to last season, granted we were not able to reload large air tankers, we were only able to do seats. We flew 34,000 gallons last year. It has been a great resource to have, and it's been a very hard fire year for Wyoming in general, the country. Entire ranches have burned up. People are losing livelihoods. It's just been an epic fire year. You've got a picture of the the photos on the wall at the tanker base of, there was a grandma and a mom that brought their kids out, and, the planes that flew out of our base, they put retardant down and saved their house. We had no idea the scope and scale that we'd be utilizing this facility for. And it's just made our relationship stronger with the airport.
And part of what he was talking about when he said the family came out, they have framed under glass, really nice frame under glass. The little girl had drawn a picture in crayon of the family ranch, the house, a barn. And there's a firefighter airplane flying overhead, and she, in red crayon, drew fire retardant coming out of the bottom of that. That's really cool. So she presented that as a thank you because the firefighters saved their home by dropping that retardant all over the place. Also, I would say saved Chugwater, Wyoming, too, among other places. That's an entire little town because a fire was coming toward them, and here come the planes with the fire retardant. But it was really impressive. I went out during the course of the summer, not just to the airport, but also to some places to watch them drop even some airplanes that came out of the Casper and Natrona Airport that were the kind of planes that they went over to the Glendale Reservoir, and they were coming down and scooping water out of the reservoir and flying back up and going over to the fire that was in the Laramie Range area and dropping water there and coming back in again. It really impressive. I got a whole bunch of pictures and did a gallery for you guys on that one as well. So we were able to fight these fires so effectively because they built this entire new facility, supersizing what they had before. And then we were able to take on what turned out to be a really bad fire season. Now, I would expect next year, I'm guessing here, is not going to be as bad. It comes and goes. There's years that the skies are yellow because of all the fires, and then there's years where not a whole lot happens. So we back and forth one of this. So we got to prepare for those years that we know are going to be bad, which is going to happen from time to time. All right, coming up on 6:42, Don Day's got an extended weather forecast. Wake up.
Got something to say? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat with Glenn on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app from K2 Radio.
6:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. So Frank's a good name. I mean, it's an older name. It really is just a basic name that a lot of people had.
One syllable. It's all good.
Yeah, it's all good, yeah. My parents, Glenn, a lot of people
One syllable, yeah.
Yes, and a lot of people were naming their kids after John Glenn at the time that I was named Glenn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And although
that's two one
I've
syllables.
got some friends of mine in North Carolina when I was a teenager. One of the girls called and asked if Glenn is there, and my father handed me the phone laughing because this girl had a heavy Southern Appalachian accent. And he said, how she got 3 syllables out of your name, I don't know. But there's newer names today.
Oh, it's out of control.
Oh, Luca, Asher, Mavis.
Okay. And the way they, in high school sports, you go all through the roster. You really have to ask how these names are pronunciated.
Oh my
because
God!
It's not the way it looks.
No, not at all. Okay, so there's a woman in Wyoming who wants to bring back the old names.
Well, let her then.
Gertrude?
No.
Helen?
No, that's okay.
Dorothy?
maybe.
What about Mabel?
No.
Okay.
No Opal either.
No. Penelope?
No.
Esther?
No.
Ruth?
No.
Phyllis?
No.
Okay, see now, maybe she's getting too old.
How old is she?
Really old. Older than us by a lot. She could have been your mom.
She's going to have kids?
No, she just wants to bring back. Okay, here's one that's definite no. Babs. No. Hell no. That's a hell no.
No.
Kirby.
No.
Okay. Judy?
No.
What's wrong with Judy?
Too old.
Okay. Oh, boy, we have a listener named Judy who's going to kill you.
Is she old?
Yeah. Well, no, but she's about our age. But Nancy.
Well, that's old.
Nancy.
Maybe.
Sybil.
No.
Okay.
There's too many personalities there.
Okay. Blanche.
No.
Yeah. Harriet.
No.
Okay. What's a good name to you? Steve? Bob?
No.
What's wrong with Bob?
No. For girls, I don't know.
No, just people's
names. How about Julie?
Julie's a good name.
Julie's a really good name.
Okay. So, in other words, what you want is a one-syllable name that not only can you spell it, but when you're doing some sports report, you can pronounce it without embarrassing yourself.
And that happens all the time.
Yeah, okay.
But Julie's 2 syllables, and I'll go with that one.
Julie's I guess it's 2 syllables.
Julie,
yeah, I guess, okay. Yeah, I mean, you could squeeze one syllable out of it.
Just call it Jules.
Jules is just fine, yeah. Especially don't have a name that people can make fun of. There's a lot of names out there that at one time it was okay to say their name, but today you say their name and people start to snicker, and that's just changed.
Yeah. All right, in men's college basketball tonight, the Wyoming Cowboys on the road in Lubbock to meet Texas Tech. The Pokes are 2-0 after an 81-66 win over Tennessee State on Sunday. Texas Tech certainly will be one of the better teams the Cowboys will play this season, and they are 2-0. Plus, former UW coach Jeff Linder is an assistant with the Red Raiders, so that'll be a reunion today. Cowboys get a taste of what they're really made of, and that'll be a 6 p.m. start from Lubbock tonight. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KCGY in Laramie. Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team will host Regis from Denver tonight in Laramie. Cowgirls are 0-2 with losses to Colorado and BYU. And back on Saturday in Provo in that BYU game, UW endured a horrendous third quarter where they made just one shot out of 12 and let BYU run them out of the gym with a 31-6 third quarter explosion. That's a 4-quarter game, and Cowgirls need to play all 4 quarters. That's a 6:30 start from the AA in Laramie tonight. Wyoming Cowboy football team will play Colorado State this week in the 116th Border War in Fort Collins. Pokes are 2-7 overall, but 2-3 in Mountain West play after a 49-45 win over New Mexico a couple of weeks ago. Injuries have been an issue all year long for the Cowboys, and on defense, edge rushers Sebastian Harsh and Braden Siders will be out for the CSU game, as well as running back Sam Scott. Receiver TK King and Jalen Sargent will return to the lineup for Friday night's tilt in FOCO. CSU is 4-0 in league play, 6-3 overall. They've won their last 4 in a row. The Rams are 10.5-point favorites in the game. That's a 6 p.m. start from Fort Collins on Friday. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. National Football League, here's a quick rundown of what some of the former Wyoming Cowboys did over the weekend. Casper native and Cincinnati linebacker Logan Wilson with 8 tackles in the Bengals' 35-34 loss to Baltimore. Cincinnati is a mediocre 4-6. Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen, 22 of 37 for 280 yards and a rushing touchdown with 2 interceptions in their 30-20 win over Indianapolis. The Bills are 8-2. They have a marquee game on Sunday night taking on 9-0 Kansas City. That's it in sports.
So, according to Lee in Laramie, and I think, Lee, you're making this up. Lee's a good name. That was my father's name, Lee. That's a good name.
Lee's good.
Great-grandmother of Lee was Eglantine.
Who?
Yeah. It sounds like an egg that I would order for breakfast. I'll have the Eglantine.
Eglantine?
Yeah, with some wheat toast, please.
But you want to find out what actually people called her.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that's...
Yeah.
Your name is one thing, but what that's what what do people call you? What do your friends call you?
Redbeard and Guernsey. Iva May for a girl's name.
Iva May what?
How about just May?
How about Mother May I?
Yeah, Mother May I sound good. I'll just go with May. I think I'll just stick
May
with
is
that
good.
one there.
You know, because the 3 prettiest months of the year are April, May, and June.
See, if you're going to have kids, remember, something Frank can pronounce with one syllable and not mispronounce on air. Because if he screws up your kid's name during a sporting event, it's your fault.
You know what? In events, the public address announcer will go over the mic and say, if I am not pronouncing your kid's name right, please come down and tell me.
Yes. Or no, I wouldn't say that. If I'm not pronouncing your kid's name right,
you better, because you'll never know.
It's your fault.
You'll never
for naming your kid that.
Well, yeah, okay.
All right, thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Six of time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. It is a Wednesday. Over the hump we go.
Today's show is sponsored by chocolate-covered beaver tail, made with authentic artificial beaver tails.
It's the authentic artificial that gets me. Oh, by the way, for those Trump supporters out there, we found out exactly 1 week ago that he was going to be president. You're welcome. It's like a holiday for you
Warning,
guys.
this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave. Now, we did hear from Greg in Laramie, sort of a wellness check. He called us to let us know that after the election, he's okay. That's our liberal friend in Laramie that calls all the time, and he's doing fine. I have not heard from Dave from San Francisco. I would expect he's still under his bed sucking his thumb. We have been doing wellness checks to see how Liz Cheney's been doing. Hey, Liz? Okay, so not all that well. So we'll continue to check in on Liz to see. Liz? Okay. Now, real quick before I get into the next topic here. So I mentioned to Frank Gambino in the last segment, his name is good, Frank. My name is basic, Glenn, and it's from a different era. And there are some baby names these days that some people think are just a little odd. And Frank doesn't like them because when he has to announce young people's names while doing sports, he oftentimes goes, I have no idea what to do with this. So there's a lady in Wyoming who would like to get back to basic old people names, like Bertha. Brendan in Greeley, Colorado. Morning, Brenda. I'm sorry, I said Brenda. Brendan, O-N. See, you got to watch that stuff. I'm having a girl in a month. We are going to name her Guinevere. Not Guinevere, but Guinevere. Am I doing that right? W-Y-N-N-E-V-E-R-E. Let's see. Kyle and Cheyenne. My maternal grandmother was named Wilda Irene. W-I-L-D-A, Irene. See, my mother was named Rosalie. And in fact, my oldest niece just had a second baby who she named after my grandmother, Rosalie, because she was such a cool woman. That's an older name. Let's see, grandparents' names were, this is Joel and Casper. My grandparents' names were Reba and Lorenzo. Redbeard and Guernsey, Iva May. Lee and Laramie, great-grandmother was Eglantine, or something like that over there. So, okay. Miss Mary's telling me I love old names. I do love old. In fact, I really did enjoy my mom, and I got to tell you, I had a very cool mom. She was great, and her name was Rosalie, and I like that as a name. That was a cool name. There are some newer names out there that I agree with. I understand people want to do different things, but I'm with Frank on this. I should be able to look at your name and immediately be able to pronounce it. Don't try to stumble us. So when Frank is calling sports, let's say your kid's on the baseball team, and he's going to announce your kid's name because your kid did something great, Frank should be able to see your kid's name and know exactly how to pronounce it. Don't try to stumble us. You don't want teachers in class going, am I doing that right? Let's see, Miss Mary's saying she likes Eunice, Esther, Grace, Mabel, Walton, Ernest, all great names. And my name, Glenn, a lot of people were naming their kids after like John Glenn, things like that. That's where that name comes from there. I always told my mom that she named me a contradiction in terms because the last name is Woods. Now, a glen is an open field. So if you go up to, let's say, a top of a mountain, and it's heavily wooded up there, but there's this one field open up there, that is a glen. It could also be down in a valley. Let's say you're coming down off the mountain, it's a heavily wooded area, but down at the bottom of the mountain somewhere is this little open field. That's a glen. You cannot be a Glen Woods. That is a contradiction in terms. So thanks, Mom, for naming me a walking contradiction. I really appreciate it. And those who are regular listeners to the show, you're understanding, of course, obviously I am. All right, so next news story that I have up. If you've been listening to me over the years, every so often I pick on public radio and public television, and even Wyoming public media public radio specifically, but the reason I do that, and I have said over the years, when it comes to Wyoming public media, their radio show, their morning radio show and afternoon radio show, which they mix up with, because there's the national show. It's National Public Radio's All Things Considered and Morning Edition. And the Wyoming part of it is inserted in there. And their production value is really good. I have to give them high marks as a broadcaster on their production creativity and the way they make things sound. It's theater of the mind. Radio is theater of the mind. They're very good at it. But I've complained because when you listen to their coverage of anything, especially what they consider to be news coverage, they're heavily biased, heavily leftist bias. And if you go to the Wyoming Public Media news page, you'll find heavily leftist biased news. It's very typical. And that's what public media has been. Well, with the incoming Trump administration, we may end up, they're looking into it. We'll see. It'd be about time, because I've been advocating this for a long time. Get the taxpayer money out of public radio and television. End it. Now, some people would say, well, then it would go away. Probably not. I'll explain why not in just a minute, but the purpose of public radio and public television, this was created, let me see if I get the date for you here, because it's been about 50 years-ish since it's been around. And the idea was, it was like the late 1960s, I think it was. 1967 is when your federal government established a corporation for public broadcasting. Now, the idea was, back then, especially in rural areas, Nebraska, Dakotas, Wyoming, places like that, there wasn't a lot for media. You didn't have a lot of radio out here. Television was kind of a new thing. There wasn't a lot of that out there. And they wanted to make sure that people could get good quality programming, not just entertainment programming, but news and information. And so government came up with public radio and public television. But today, you can get whatever you want. You don't need them. We don't need publicly funded media. I mean, some of you old enough to remember, there was a time that you lived way out west. Again, places like Kansas, Nebraska, and so on, Wyoming. And what was there for media? The radio station, this show's on several radio stations around the region here, K2 Radio. I'm in the studios of K2 Radio right now, broadcasting. First radio station in Wyoming. That goes way back. And at least that covered a huge area, although not the entire state still. So there were some people that just wouldn't get any media. That's why government started to put up radio and TV stations saying, there, now you have news and information. But since then, we now have cable, satellite, broadcast is overwhelming you, internet. You are overwhelmed with choices when it comes to media, and so we can just end publicly funding any media because we don't need it. We are so overwhelmed with it, we can just stop. But also because public radio and television and internet has become so leftist biased, they're not serving the public good anymore. So Elon Musk, along with Donald Trump, they've been having a conversation about this. And Trump has said it before, but now Elon Musk, who is supposed to step in as basically the efficiency czar, would like to just defund public television, public radio. And I'm all for it. For more reasons than you might think, and I'll explain why. In just a moment, it's Wake Up Wyoming.
The best talk show host in the state, within his price range. Tune in to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, weekdays at 6.
Okay, real quick, couple of comments that I'm getting. And you can comment by using the Wake Up Wyoming app. Now, you can always call the show, 888-97-WOODS, 888-97-WOODS. Got into a discussion here about old names, which some people really like the old names out there. My mother's name was Rosalie. Right? There's some really cool old names out there. So Becky is having a little bit of a problem. I said my mother named me a contradiction in terms. My name is Glenn Woods. Now, you can be a Woods or you can be a Glen, which is an open field in the middle of the woods, but you can't be both. But now she says, yeah, but you can't have one without the other. Without the woods, a glen would just be a plains area, yet the opposite is true. Now, you do have a point there, Becky. You cannot have one without the other. And yet, at the same time, you can't be both, can you? Isn't that weird? All right, several people are agreeing with me about, Mike in Wheatland would like to get rid of public libraries for the same reason, and I agree with you on that, but let's stick with the Wyoming public media thing. Grady and Laramie, I hope Trump can make some really big budget cuts so we can start paying off this debt, and I agree with you there, and I think public radio would be a great start. Yeah, and let me give you another reason why. Not only is public radio and television and even internet obsolete, but here is a quote, and this was put out by Elon Musk. This is a quote. This is the current head, Kathleen Mayer. She is the NPR CEO, National Public Radio CEO. And here she was giving a TED Talk.
I think our reverence for the truth might have become a bit of a distraction that is preventing us from finding consensus and getting important things done.
So in case you didn't hear that quite well, let me read that to you. She said, I think our reverence, this is the woman in charge of National Public Radio. I think our reverence for the truth might have become a bit of a distraction that is preventing us from finding consensus and getting important things done. And yes, this woman is as far leftist as it can possibly get. And that's where Elon Musk stepped up and went, excuse me, you got a problem with the truth. Well, and that's where I say when I read stories from just public radio and television in general, but even Wyoming public media, and again, I give them high marks on the quality of the content as far as production value. Whether you're reading one of their stories or you're listening to them on the radio or you're watching one of their videos or news shows, whatever it may be, their production value here in Wyoming is top-notch. But they're also hardcore left-leaning. And I don't know that they see that they are. That's one of the reasons why, whether they were left or right-leaning, I would say, no, we need balanced in there. But then, do we need them at all? And the answer would be no. Since we're trying to save money here, we have a massive deficit. I would just defund it altogether. So some people would worry, well, then would it go away? Would public radio and television go away? And my answer is probably not. Let's take a look at public television for a moment. Think about how much money Sesame Street makes. Because they don't, I know the television shows on public TV stations, but coming to Wyoming, there is a Sesame Street stage show. It's like a musical stage show with people in costumes playing the characters and so on. They have movies that come out, lunchboxes, clothing, bed sheets, games and puzzles for kids. How many Sesame Street things can you make? Can you name? Sesame Street makes a ton of money. I mean, a lot. They don't need any public funding. And the same thing with many of the other kids' programs. There's some great kids' programming on public television. And some people have made the case, well, those shows would go away. No, they're not going to go away. They don't have to at all. If anything, they can get picked up by other networks like the Cartoon Network and so on that would love to carry these programs. So they're not going anywhere. Then there's other TV shows that have become very popular as well. We can name some, but then let's get to public radio. Okay, I know during the day they have their talk shows, they have classical music, stuff like this. And their ratings are not exactly the best because it's a very small audience that really appreciates listening to them. A tiny little, and the reason they make money and they stay in existence, even in tiny states like Wyoming, yes, there are listeners that send support out that will, during times where they do fundraising, listeners will send money in. because they like it and they want to keep it going. So they donate, which is fine. But then they also get a lot of subsidies. I'm not sure if they get any from the state of Wyoming. I don't know about that. But they got a lot of federal subsidies to keep them going. Shut off the federal subsidies. I think they should have to compete in the commercial world just like everybody else, just like this program does. Oh, Chet in Yoder wants to know, so what is a meadow? That's good. If a glen is an open field, what is a meadow? And I'm kind of wondering the same thing. I could be named Meadowwoods. But anyway, Hey You in Marbleton says, abolish the BLM and Forest Service and return the land to the state. That's something else Trump has been talking about. We'll see if he can get that done, but that's something he's talked about as well. But let's stick to public radio and public television again. I have for years advocated an end to federal funding. For many reasons. One, we don't need it. We have so much media out there. We don't need it anymore. It's obsolete. And then two, all of their programming, not just the news, all of their program has gone so far to the left. This is not balanced anymore, and it is not what public radio and television was set out to be. It was supposed to be, yes, news and information as part of it, and it was supposed to be balanced. But they strayed from that a long time ago. And just like MSNBC and CNN, which I want to tell you about their ratings next, they are really way off in what they're supposed to be as their stated mission. So, yes, I would just defund them, and I hope Elon Musk and Donald Trump are able to get that done. People have talked about it before, but never got it done. I think it's time they should. Let's see if they're able to do it this time around. Coming up, I've said this before over the years, so I bet the people, if they even know that I exist at Wyoming Public Radio and Television, probably just hate me for this. But coming up on 7:30, local news, coming your way after local news update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it. And I will tell you what's been happening over at CNN and MSNBC, because they are in big trouble as far as broadcasters go. In fact, MSNBC might get sold off. I'll let you know. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Honestly, he's just happy to be here. Catch Glenn Woods on Wake Up Wyoming, weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
7:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Somebody see. Some of the people are texting me on the Wake Up Wyoming app. Grady and Laramie. I thought I heard BLM headquarters was relocated to Colorado. Yes, Trump did that, I believe. So the idea, and he wants to do more of that. The idea is get these bureaucratic agencies out of D.C. and out to where average Americans will apply for the jobs in their home state. The idea behind this, which I agree with, is Washington, D.C. inside the Beltway is toxic. It is incestuous, and I mean that, incestuous and toxic. Get it out of there and spread it across the country where average Americans would take jobs at these different agencies. So that's part of Trump's idea. And as far as getting rid of the funding for public radio, public television, Rick and Cheyenne, I am with you 100% for no other reason than we should not have taxpayer dollars or should not be funding public radio and TV. And we should also need to stop subsidies that are going to failed science projects, which I agree with there. And no public radio and TV says. So, all right, I agree with there's all sorts of things that government subsidizes that we can get into. And we will, as Elon Musk starts his efficiency department, all sorts of things that we can just shut down those agencies because we don't need them. In fact, the new president of Argentina, a president in Argentina has more power than an American president. And this guy's much more libertarian. And what he did was he got into office and just started shutting things down. We don't need this agency. We don't need that agency, et cetera, and got the country on budget pretty much overnight. And the economy picked up and started roaring because he got rid of all these useless government agencies, which we really need to do here in America. Now, real quick, since I was picking on public radio and TV, couple of stories here. Let's start with MSNBC. Headline, dejected Democrats have had enough of MSNBC. Their ratings are just horrible, especially after the election. The story says, if you're like me, you haven't turned on the news since last Tuesday when Donald Trump won the election. Personally, I can't bear to listen to another minute of Joy Reid or Lawrence O'Donnell or Rachel Maddow. I can't hear Anderson Cooper or Abby Phillips. Can't abide getting the lowdown on NPR or New York Times or Daily Michael Barbio or the View ladies. I just can't do it, this author said. I'm not saying I'll never watch or listen again, but am I alone here? My entire body recoils listening to that claptrap. And that's what's happening to the ratings at CNN and MSNBC. So on election night, MSNBC scored 6 million viewers compared to CNN 5.1. Think about it. CNN did worse than MSNBC. Fox News over 10 million. But in the days since the election, the network's daily ratings fell to about 800,000, with 90,000 in the 25 to 54-year-old demo gone. So think about it. They've gone from millions of listeners on a daily basis to about 800,000 on a daily basis. The numbers reflect the average last Wednesday to Friday that marks a 54% decrease in the network's average viewership for MSNBC. 54% decrease, as well as a 51% decrease in the network's year-to-year. And additionally, on Friday, MSNBC saw 636,000 viewers and 61,000 in the demo for the, well, okay, it gets into the breakdown of who. Morning shows, like right now, I'm on the air talking to you. If you turn on the television, they have Morning Joe. Morning Joe's ratings have dropped over 60, I think it was something like 65 or 63% for Morning Joe. And many of their other television shows have done the same thing, just absolutely in the toilet with these ratings. So there is talk now of MSNBC being sold, although I don't know who would want to buy it. CNN, the story says, reportedly making more cuts in the near future, including to its highly paid on-air personality. Their highly paid on-air personalities make millions of dollars. If they get rid of some of these people, they could save about $40 million by getting rid of a lot of these highly paid personalities that fewer and fewer people are listening to, and especially after election night. So CNN wants to axe some of their biggest personalities to save the money. And there's talk about MSNBC going up for sale and getting rid of tons of their personalities, considering how much they've dropped in ratings, not just during the election, but since the election, which has been a week ago. And the ratings are just that far down. People just can't stand listening to it anymore. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens to this. 742. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
He's not a politician, but his pants are on fire. Could someone grab an extinguisher? Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Wyoming, off we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather. So I wasn't surprised, Don. I get up this morning. It started with some rain, and then it snowed on top of that. So basically, I had to break my car door open this morning.
Well, did you bring your crowbar?
Yeah, you know when you grab a hold of the door handle and you have to sort of lean back and go tug, tug, tug in order to make it go rip, snap, pop, and open up?
Yeah, those were my windshield wipers this morning. They were firmly affixed to the windshield.
Okay, so now we're done with that. That's moved on. So do we have a couple of nice days here?
Yeah, we do. We don't really have too much going on today, tomorrow, or Friday. We have this system that's going to split into two pieces coming in off the Pacific Northwest coast. It'll start to produce some showers late Friday across the far western parts of the state. And then Friday night and Saturday, the western parts of the state, places like Jackson, Cody, up around Sheridan, up near that Montana border area. There's going to be a little patch of snow up there late Friday night and Saturday. But I don't see it really reaching the other parts of the state as the system splits. But it will send cooler air in. So temperatures this weekend are going to back off a bit.
Does cooler air mean wind?
A little, not a lot.
Okay, that's good. Now, we always warn people about this, but especially when it gets into next week. If you're looking at your phone at the weather app to try to figure out what's happening next week, I would just not open up that app for a couple of days.
Yeah, you can look at it for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah, because it really, there's a lot going on. And from what you were showing this morning on your morning podcast, there's so much at play here. Really, the models don't agree, nor do the meteorologists.
Yeah, what's going on is with this splitting storm this weekend, one piece is going to go up into Canada, another piece is going to go down into Arizona. And we've kind of have seen this fall where these systems split and do this. And then there's another system coming in right behind it. So there are three systems over a relatively speaking small geographic area. And it's like anything you would put into a model. The more variables, the more elements you're putting in over a smaller area, the more susceptible for error. And so that's why we say past Sunday, take it with a grain of salt, because I'll tell you this, depending on what model your phone app uses, it could say snow and 20 degrees. The other app might say sunny and 60.
Okay.
So that's, just be careful. I mean, I hear it all the time, well, my phone said, so don't pay attention to your phone. It is not all knowing.
I can tell you exactly what's going to happen, okay, on Thursday. Anyway, I have to be outside because every year at that time we collect turkeys and other goodies for people's Thanksgiving dinner for needy families. And if I have to be outside collecting that stuff, what's going to happen to the weather.
Well, there you go.
Okay, so that's
just let me know exactly when that will be, and yes. I will frame the forecast soon.
I appreciate that. All right, Dawn Day with day weather. So yeah, I'll keep you posted on that event. By the way, we do that every single year at a certain time to make sure needy families do get Thanksgiving dinners. Hopefully, go to the icebox. Frank Gambino.
What's the weather for Laramie going to be on Friday and Saturday?
Oh yeah, well, he just told you that.
No, he didn't.
He did. Nice. I mean, it's not really all that windy. I mean, temperatures
that helps.
In the 50s.
That's very nice.
Okay, very nice.
Did I not hear that?
I guess not, but I'll ask him again tomorrow.
I'll call him.
Okay. Now, as we continue, sometimes you and I get into a conversation that really gets people going.
No, doesn't?
The conversation on the names really did.
Oh, okay.
All right, so let's do some weird baby names that are new. Yes, people.
It will take your breath away.
Yes, people have named their babies in this, like in 2023 and 2024. Blue Ivy.
Is that?
That's a name.
That's a soup or something.
Yes.
Or a flower.
I don't know. It sounds to me like a shampoo I would use.
Yeah.
Okay. Hellzel. Hellzel. Hellzel.
Hellzel.
Hellzel. I guess you did it better than I would.
No, I don't know. Okay.
Okay. Birdella, Birdella.
Who names their kid that?
Yes. Okay. Now, my oldest niece, when she had her son, she didn't name the kid Donovan, let's say. It's more like Jonavin.
Jonavin.
Yeah, I'd never heard that before.
Neither have I.
Okay. Here's a kid named Everest.
Yep. Hope his middle name isn't Mount.
Yeah. Yeah, really. I mean, you would have to name him Mount, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even know what to do with this one. Xaeaxii.
Just call him X.
Yeah, I just call him X for short.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Who named their kid Almond?
Almond, like the nut?
Yes.
Almond.
Yes.
They would just call him Al.
Yes. And for the love of God, don't name your kid Bambi. Because they grow up to be blonde and really stupid. So don't do that.
No. All right, a men's college basketball tonight. The Wyoming Cowboys on the road in Lubbock to meet Texas Tech. The Pokes are 2-0 after an 81-66 victory over Tennessee State on Sunday. Texas Tech certainly one of the better teams the Cowboys will play this season, and they are 2-0. Plus, former UW head coach Jeff Linder is an assistant with the Red Raiders. There'll be a reunion today. Cowboys will get a taste of what they're really made of, and this is a 6 p.m. start from Lubbock tonight. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KCGY in Laramie. Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team will host Regis from Denver tonight in Laramie. The Cowgirls are 0-2 with losses to Colorado and BYU. And then back on Saturday in Provo in that BYU game, UW endured just a horrendous third quarter. They were 1 of 12 in the field, and they let BYU run them out of the gym with a 31-6 third quarter explosion. It is a 4-quarter game, and the Cowgirls need to play all 4 quarters. That is a 6:30 start from the AA in Laramie tonight. Wyoming Cowboy football team will play Colorado State this week in the 116th Border War in Fort Collins. Folks are 2-7 overall, but 2-3 in Mountain West play after a 49-45 win over New Mexico a couple of weeks ago. Injuries have been an issue for the Cowboys practically all season. On defense, edge rushers Sebastian Harsh and Braden Siders will be out for the CSU game, as well as running back Sam Scott. Receiver TK King and Jalen Sargent will return to the lineup on Friday night. CSU is 4-0 in league play and 6-3 overall. They've won their last 4 in a row. Rams are 10.5-point favorites in the Border War. That's a 6 p.m. start from Fort Collins on Friday night. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. National Football League, here's a quick rundown of some of the former Wyoming Cowboys did over the weekend. Casper native and Cincinnati linebacker Logan Wilson with 8 tackles in the Bengals' 35-34 loss to Baltimore. Cincinnati is a mediocre 4-6. Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen, 22 of 37 for 280 yards, a rushing touchdown, and 2 picks. In their 30-20 win over Indianapolis, the Bills are 8-2, and they have a marquee game on Sunday night, taking on 9-0 Kansas City. That's it in sports.
Okay, so I don't want people to think that I know what I'm talking about when I ask Frank questions like this. When we get into the Border War game, how are we looking on injuries for UW?
Well, they've had people hurt all year long.
Yeah.
All year long. And sometimes, they say, all right, next person up. That doesn't work all the time. Because the first stringer probably has a lot more ability than the second stringer. Mm-hmm. And when you put the second string in there, there's a learning curve to this whole deal.
Right.
So, and the Cowboys have had, more than a few offensive linemen hurt. They've had receivers hurt. They've had running backs hurt. They've had, and then all over the place.
Okay.
In an inordinate amount of guys that are hurt and missing major playing time.
Okay.
It's really a shame.
You're really not building up my confidence here on this game.
I don't know if.
Yeah.
I hope the Cowboys can do this. I really do.
Okay.
Anything, a CSU loss is good for the nation.
And good for Frank. He comes in a good mood the next day. All right, thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business, we'll roll into news time after that. 8 o'clock hour, I give this to you every single day. Open phones. I don't just do open phones on Friday, it's every single day. So if you want to jump in on the phone conversation, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about, not just what I'm on about. 888-97-WOODS. 888-97-WOODS. Wake Up Wyoming. The time, it's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Wednesday. 1 week since we found out who the next president is going to be, and over the hump we go.
Today's show is sponsored by chocolate-covered beaver tail, made with authentic artificial beaver tails.
And you know it's the real thing when it's authentic artificial. Now, we're into the 8 o'clock hour. Every single day, usually around this time, I give you open phones. I don't just wait till Friday like a lot of other hosts do. It's every day you will get some open phones. So let's get into it.
Warning. Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. I mean, imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave, all right, strap in, and let's do this thing.
888-97 Woods the phone number. That's 888-97 WOODS. Okay, so real quick here. I've been doing this all morning long. It's important. First off, we did have a call, and I'm glad we did, from Greg, our liberal listener in Laramie. He just wanted us to know that he's okay. He's fine. He was really disappointed in the results of the election, but he's okay. Have not heard from Dave in San Francisco yet. I assume he's still having a meltdown. He's there hovering around MSNBC, probably one of their last viewers, hoping that something will happen that will change the results of the election, which it's not going to, of course. And then finally, we always have to do a wellness check on Liz Cheney. Liz, you doing okay? So, obviously not. We'll keep checking on Liz to see how she's doing over there. All right, 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97 WOODS. Now, before I get into the real topics I have lined up for you, here's a few things that we were talking about. While you were into that news and information break, top of the hour, we took a little break here and had a conversation. Me, Miss Mary, and DJ Nike from down the hallway. Here's the first thing that you tell me what I should do. So I was in Casper, Wyoming. It was a Sunday. Really early in the morning. They had just woken up. And I went to the McDonald's. And I got myself a little breakfast. And that little turd behind the counter gave me the senior discount, which annoyed me to no end. You're just looking at me and assuming this guy gets the senior discount. He's just giving it to me. Didn't even ask. How old are you? Whatever. Can I see some ID? None of that. Just looked at me, gave me the senior discount. Really annoying. But then, I'm in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I go to a McDonald's and want to just get a basic little breakfast. Same thing, really. And the guy behind the counter doesn't give me the senior discount. Doesn't even ask. Just doesn't give it to me. And now I'm annoyed because I didn't get the discount. Yeah, so you help me out with that. What am I supposed to do with that? Because either way, I'm in a bad mood. I mean, I want my discount, but I don't want to get a discount because, I'm old enough to get the discount now. Okay, off we go to Scott in Laramie, who wants to talk about how to pronounce Laramie, which I know we're not doing it correctly when we say Laramie. That I do know.
No, your problem. All right, here we go, because
Yeah?
Okay.
You got it. Go ahead.
All right, well, if you're not local...
Yeah.
And you call it Laramie, and you call it Wyoming, everybody knows.
Yeah.
You're not local. You're not from around here, boy.
Well, it's a lot like if I go up to North Carolina and I'm in the mountains, you better say Appalachian Mountain, not Appalachian. They know. They know.
No, I've seen this all over the country. I came from a place recently in Idaho. And the place, as you drive through, is spelled Mackay.
Yeah.
Well, how do you say that?
Yeah.
That's McCay.
Well, there's even places in Wyoming like, we have and here's what it looks like when you read the sign. It looks like the Popo Aggie River. But we don't pronounce it anywhere near like that, do we?
Well, and that's the point. It's like this is how they identify you as not being local.
Are you from around here or not?
They jump on you and cut your hair and throw you in the creek. You remember what the heck was that movie? Easy Rider.
Yeah.
You're not from around here, are you,
yeah,
boy?
Right. Well, now here's the one that gets me though. Since you mentioned you opened up with Laramie, here's what Wyoming does to confuse people that are not from around here. So we have the town of Fort Laramie, which is not to be confused with Fort Laramie, which is just down the road, which is not to be confused with Laramie Peak, which is farther away, which has nothing to do with Laramie County. And by the way, the town of Laramie, the city of Laramie in Wyoming, is not in Laramie County.
Okay. Like I said, I'm new out here.
Yeah. We're just trying to get people lost, aren't we?
I'm a survivor. I'm adjusting. I'm going to figure this out.
Okay.
But I know better than to use 3 syllables when I say Laramie.
Yeah.
And I know better than to say 3 syllables when I say Wyoming.
There you go. Yeah.
Laramie,
Yeah.
Wyoming.
Well, in fact, I tell you one more, Scott, and I'll let you go. When I first got to Wyoming, I looked at the town of Dubois.
Right.
And then people kept saying Du Bois. Well, what? Well, there's a story. There's a reason you say Du Bois and not Dubois. But it is properly pronounced Dubois, just like we're saying Laramie wrong. It's a French name.
I think they do the same thing in North Dakota.
Yeah, I think they did, yeah. Which is properly pronounced North Dakota. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. All right, so, say, Jeff and Casper, when was the last time Dave from San Francisco called? It's been a while. I've been listening for a while now, and I've never heard him call in. Maybe a recap of his last call would be good. Too many heads would explode. Oh, okay. Next one for you. Speaking of heads exploding, as I said, I had a bunch of topics to open up this hour. Now, I just want you to think about this for a bit. And after this next news and information break, we'll get into it. I just heard a story in Miami. Yeah, I know, Miami. Miami is how you hear a lot of people pronounce it down there. Those people are usually from Cuba. Anyway, down in Miami, they were horrified because people found on the beach a human head. No body, just a human head had washed up on the beach. Now, the human head is so decomposed, they can still tell it's a human head, but they can't identify who it was. And they also don't know if it's male or female. So how will they tell? Well, they'll do two things. Well, several things. Bone structure, for one. That does have something to do with it. DNA, but also chromosome testing are some of the things they can do. And they will come up with the identity of whether the human head was male or female, which will drive some people nuts. Because since the head is no longer alive, they cannot ask the head how it identifies. That's a lot like, and those people on that side of the argument don't even like it when an archaeologist comes across human bones and looks at, let's say it's a grave, right? And they look at the skeleton in the grave and say, that's male or that's female. How do they know? Just by looking. They do know. But what did that person identify as? Doesn't matter. So right now, authorities down in Miami are sending that decomposed human head that washed up on the beach off to be examined to figure out whether it was male or female and begin the process of trying to identify who it belonged to. That is going to drive a certain element. You know, the people who watch MSNBC, absolutely bonkers. But why not?
And on the third day, God created the Remington bolt action rifle so that man could fight the dinosaurs. Amen.
Like a strong cup of coffee in the morning. Tasteless, but it'll get you through the day. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
8:21's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Julie. Morning, Julie. How you been?
Oh, doing really good, Glenn. Hey, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for getting the word out for our Veterans Day programs that we had. We had a very successful evening. Over 160 people showed up.
Nice.
We had a World War II honoree that we were presented a coin to, and it was just a great evening. And then we had over 80 people for our morning group, and that was great, and great speakers and just great fun. So I just wanted to thank you and the station for getting the word out for us, and we truly appreciate you guys.
Anytime you need some help, give us a call. We'll do it for you.
You betcha. You guys have a great day.
Oh, you too. All right. And by the way, that goes to other organizations out there. And if you're a member of any kind of a charitable organization and you're trying to get something done for the community and you need to get the word out, we'll do it. So 888-97-WOODS, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. That's the number to call Miss Mary. Explain what you got going on, and we'll help you out. Not only can I talk about it on the air or interview you on the air, if that's what you want to do, I'll write up a story about it. We'll get the word out for whatever. It doesn't matter how big or small. Doesn't matter what your organization is doing, as long as it's legal. And we'll help get the information out for you. All right, 888-97-WOODS, the phone number. Or do what a lot of other people doing. Go ahead and text me using the Wake Up Wyoming app. Just go ahead and hit the chat button. All right, so as you know, the end is nigh.
So put on your respirator and let's fix that generator. And while we're out, we'll mend our fences too. See, I'm not afraid of dying, just got reasons for surviving. I want one more day in the apocalypse with you.
Okay, I got several stories here to cover for you. One, the war on fertilizer comes to Great Britain. This is one of those things which would be happening here were it not for an incoming Trump administration. But here's the story. Having made an excellent start in trying to make British citizens both colder and poorer, the net zero fanatics, the story says, that the new Labour government are turning their attention to making them hungrier. The new taxes on agricultural fertilizer will cost local farmers, and, as you know, that money will be passed on to the consumers, raising prices for everybody. Such bravery in the government trying to stop climate change, they say. Well, I wonder how long until people in the UK have just had enough and are not going to take this anymore. The cost of energy has gone up. The cost of housing has gone up. The cost of food is going to go up as well. And they'll probably put a lot of people out of business at the same time. So that's the gist of it. I can get into all the details. Oh, by the way, COP20, that's the climate action meeting that the United Nations has every year. It keeps coming up on the ridiculously large television. They put it in my studio here. And I go watching to see what the world leaders are talking about. And it's pre-written speeches with early conclusions because they know what the outcome is already going to be. And by the way, it's the same speeches you hear year after year, and very little actually gets done. Now, on that note, at COP20, again, that UN meeting on climate change, UN speaker declares a war on farmers and producers of meat and dairy, saying that worldwide, you guys out there who are farming and ranching should pay a climate tax. Here's what he had to say.
And we also want to give some of the revenues of those taxes to consumers to reduce prices of healthy foods like vegetables, fruits, and plant-based meat. And on top of that, if there's some money left, but that's really important, we should also pay for the loss and damage funds. Because when we eat meat and dairy, this is causing like 20% of all greenhouse gas emissions. So it's damaging a lot of things in the world. Climate change is caused for 20% by meat and dairy. So the producers of meat and dairy should pay for the damage they cause. That's normal. When I damage the window of my neighbor, I have to repair this damage. But meat and dairy processors also have to repair the damage they cause on others and in the future. So thank you for the question.
Okay, so you see what we're dealing with there at these climate summits. Meat and dairy, you guys have to pay the cost. Now, of course, you know and what he wants to do is take that tax money on meat and dairy and he wants to send it to, well, people who are producing other kinds of food that don't damage the climate as much. So, and in fact, California is trying to do a similar thing. Governor of California wants to heavily tax gasoline and diesel and use the money to pay for infrastructure for electric cars and also subsidize more electric cars. And you know that this is going to cause nothing but a backlash. But at some point, you're going to go just to get a hamburger somewhere.
Welcome to Wiggle Burgers. Would you like to see a menu?
Sure, but I probably just want a rib burger and some fries. I'm in a hurry and I'm really hungry.
You might like the grasshopper bacon bits or the mealworm arancini. Maybe try some worm salt soup.
But wait, what the heck is the mescal worm salad?
Oh, those little guys are great. We crushed them fresh this morning.
You crushed?
Have to do it while they're still larvae or there's that horrible crunching sound. Besides, most people don't like exoskeleton in their mouth.
Just what the hell are you saving here?
Sir, Wiggle Burgers is a bug restaurant. We serve only organic, sustainable bug and bug larvae. Gotta keep that carbon footprint down. Save the planet, you know?
Oh, please tell me they brought Candid Camera back.
I don't understand.
Yeah, you're probably too young for that television show. It was on back when a person had to get up and go change the channel.
So you remember when the world was in black and white?
Well, most things were black and white back then. I have no idea what the hell is going on now. Look, I'm in a rush. Just give me a bowl of cereal. That should be safe enough.
Mealworm puffs okay? Do you want nut milk or freshly squeezed cicada larvae?
You don't just have cow's milk.
That's disgusting.
You know, if you keep grossing people out like this, you'll kill everybody's appetite and starve the human race.
Guaranteed population control? That sounds perfect.
To be honest with me, do you really eat this stuff?
Oh, come on now. If you advocate for this stuff, you don't actually have to do it.
Oh, but the rest of us better, or else.
Damn straight.
Coming up on some local business, we have to take care of news time and your weather forecast after that. Nice long segment of open phones. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
This show contains sarcasm that some listeners may find disturbing. A sense of humor is advised. Chat with Glenn live on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, it is open phone. So you can go ahead and interrupt me if you want to. 888-97-WOOD's the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. Or do what a lot of other people are doing, which is texting me on the Wake Up Wyoming app. Michelle is in Cheyenne. Speaking of the guy who wants to tax meat and give that tax to people who grow alternate foods, because, you know, if you're eating meat, that's 20% of the gases that cause climate change. So he says. Michelle in Cheyenne says, don't they know they need CO2 to increase the veggie and fruit production? No, they don't, because they're not that smart. Now, oftentimes, conservatives, and this is true, we'll have to say it's true, are just accused of having some whacked-out conspiracy theories. And if you want to be clear about it, you do. If you want to be honest about it, you do. But that's not to say that the left doesn't. So I've got a couple of recent, right after the Trump election, left-wing conspiracy theories that you're going to just love. But hang on, because I'm going to the phones first before anyone else. So Micah's in Cheyenne. Morning, Micah.
Good morning. And yes, I am in Cheyenne.
Yeah.
For the senior discount thing,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's a woman thing, but quite often we can go to places and a person, usually a guy, but sometimes a woman, will say, you seem like such a nice person. I'm just going to give you the senior discount, whether you're really a senior or not.
Right.
And it's really kind of quite flattering because
Sure.
you just think that they're being super nice to you.
Yeah.
And if it's a guy, you probably assume that they're being a little flirtatious, trying
Yeah.
to make you feel better for your day
Sure.
or whatever. But then I started thinking about it. I don't know how a guy would react to that.
Yeah. Well, now, if she's really cute, I think it's still insulting, okay, just so you know. Because guys don't want
Yeah?
to be seen as being old. I know you women don't either, but no, we just kind of hate the whole idea of it. I don't know what to do here, because if I get the senior discount, I'm insulted. But if I don't get the senior discount, I'm upset that I didn't get the discount. I'm stuck.
I know.
Okay.
Well, but the way to look at it is if you actually just automatically get the senior discount,
Yeah.
instead of feeling insulted,
Yeah.
just be thankful that you got the discount.
Okay.
And
yeah.
you can also just assume then that that person is not trying to embarrass you by asking your age or asking you if you are a senior.
Right.
They're just giving it to you out of respect for the fact that they just assume that you are, but they're not going to ask the question.
I think I've solved it.
It's very polite and respectful.
Here's what I think they should do. They should tell me that they're giving me the student discount. It'll make me feel better. All right. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Okay. Conspiracy theorists out there. All together now. Here's your song.
Oh, by the way, I've cracked the code. I figured out these shadow organizations and the Illuminati know that they're finally primed for world domination. And soon you've got black helicopters coming across the border, puppet masters for the new world order. Be aware, there's always someone that's watching you, and still the government won't admit they fake a whole moon landing. Thought control, race, psychotronic scanning, don't mind that. I'm protected cause I made this hat from aluminum foil. Where it had this foil line in case an alien's inclined to probe your butt or read your mind. Looks a bit peculiar. Seems a little crazy, but someday I'll prove there's a big conspiracy.
First conspiracy, when I heard this, I laughed and went, they can't be serious. But no, they're very serious. Left Wing Magazine, which is most magazines out there. But specifically, this is a left-wing magazine. Worries that Trump will bring back slavery. Now, I did see a video, some young lady on Twitter, a black woman, young lady on Twitter, crying because she thinks Trump is going to bring back slavery. I'm going to be a slave again. Here's the story. It's a question, I'm reading here from the magazine, I believe. Black Americans have been asking for a while. And now that former President Donald Trump won back the Oval Office, it's on everybody's mind, can slavery make a comeback? By the way, slavery exists all over the world. It always has. It still does. When you hear about human trafficking in America, that's a form of slavery. But it happens all over the world. And it has never stopped. It's not just an American thing. It continues to this day worldwide. Story here says, it never occurred to me that forced labor would be Trump's primary tool to reduce the cost of food and energy, but I guess, anyway. See, what is this magazine? Magazine is called The Root. And I love this. This is hysterical. This author from this magazine says, my sources, I doubt this person has any sources, and they won't say Trump. They're trying to say dumb, so they spell it DRUMPF. My sources in the Trump administration, I don't believe this person has any, tell me that by 2025, America, spelled AMERIKKKA, is going to be full-blown on Jim Crow, which, by the way, the Jim Crow laws were written by the Democrats, and the KKK was a Democrat organization to enforce the Jim Crow laws. And that by 2027, about the time that Trump dissolves Congress, so now they're expecting Trump to dissolve Congress, you guys aren't going to be paid for work anymore. It's scary times indeed. This is what an extreme leftist magazine is putting out. In 2022, the story says slavery was on the ballot in 5 states, according to AP News. It was not. Talk show host and author Travis Smiley expressed growing fears of slavery right before the 2016 election, going back to the 13th Amendment, a legal loophole still allowing for slavery today. Additionally, southern states like Florida have moved to ban teaching students about the horrors of slavery, which is not true. And although many, like Canadian author Mark Stein, continue to argue America's slavery is over, which it is, you folks should just move on from the slavery argument. So you see what's happening out there in left-wing media. And there's more of this. The Root spoke, the magazine, with Dr. David Johnson, CEO of National Black Justice Coalition, who said the playbook for slavery is already in action. And a lot of that ain't new, he said. The tactics, the strategy, the language, the racism, etc., etc. Trump has pledged to be a dictator day one. And they talk about Project 2025 and etc., etc. So you can see. Okay. One more for you. Headline, left-wing conspiracy theorists are saying Trump stole the election with help from Elon Musk's Starlink satellites. And this is somebody on X, formerly Twitter. Elon Musk used Starlink to help Donald Trump cheat and win the election. He must be investigated immediately. Okay. Kamala Harris supporters are refusing to accept the election results. I don't care. Now alleging that Elon Musk, oh my God, do I actually have, no, I was going to play this, but I haven't previewed it, so I don't know if this young lady's going to cuss or not. I tell you what, I will, and if it's worth playing, I'll do it when we get into the 9 o'clock hour. Right now, 8:45, wake up.
Polish off that tin hat. You'll need it for this one. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Available on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
8:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming off. We go to the icebox. Frank Gambino's waiting by. Frank, I have a truly tasteless topic for you this time.
Well, it's perfect for this time of morning.
Yes, it is.
People have already had their coffee.
Yes.
You know,
Well,
they're ready for anything right now.
You have. There's other people eating breakfast right now.
Okay, and you're going to ruin it for them.
Yes, I am. So if you're having
you
breakfast,
sound so enthusiastic about that.
If you're having breakfast, just push your plate away for a moment.
All right.
Okay. Shocking. This is the headline. Shocking number of people would rather hold it than poop at work.
Okay.
Yeah. So does this bother anybody out there? I mean, you're having some kind of an emergency. You got to go, but you're not at home. So you'd rather just suffer through the day.
Well, why don't you just take calls
something like
and
yes.
messages on our app and take a poll?
Yeah, okay. Well, that'd be a great idea. That's for those people listening out there, if you'd like to get in this. Because this comes from a survey of a couple of thousand employees from around all sectors. Now, I would think it depends on where you work.
Well, yeah. Say you're outside.
Does it have an outhouse or no outhouse at all? Or are you in some office building somewhere? So, okay. 34% say they have no problem doing it, and pretty much everybody else says they hate doing it, and if they can wait, they will.
Okay. I'm glad we've got that figured out.
Okay. Get that out of the way.
Okay.
So, now, and I'm with Frank on this one. If you would like to get in on this, but again, I'd have to say it depends on where you work. Yeah. I think that has something to do with whether you would really rather or not. I'm glad in this building here, Frank.
Yeah.
We have very loud fans.
Yes.
Yes.
It's deafening.
That certainly helps the situation a lot.
Absolutely. All righty. The Wyoming Cowboy football team will play Colorado State this week in the 116th Border War in Fort Collins. The Pokes are 2-7 overall, but 2-3 in Mountain West play after that 4-point win over New Mexico a couple of weeks ago down in Albuquerque. Injuries have been an issue for the Cowboys practically all season, and on defense, edge rusher Sebastian Harse and Braden Siders will be out of the CSU game, as well as running back Sam Scott. Receiver TK King and Jalen Sargent will return to the lineup on Friday night. CSU comes in at 4-0 in league play and 6 6-3 overall. They've won their last 4 in a row, and the Rams are 10.5-point favorites in the game. 6 p.m. start from Fort Collins on Friday. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. In the National Football League, here's a quick rundown of what some of the former Wyoming Cowboys did over the weekend. Casper native and Cincinnati linebacker Logan Wilson with 8 tackles in the Bengals' 35-34 loss to Baltimore. Cincinnati's a mediocre 4-6. Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen was 22 of 37 for 280 yards and a rushing touchdown with 2 interceptions in their 30-20 win over Indianapolis. The Bills are 8-2. They have a marquee game on Sunday night, taking on 9-0 Kansas City. Men's college basketball tonight. The Wyoming Cowboys on the road in Lubbock to meet Texas Tech. The Pokes are 2-0 after an 81-66 win over Tennessee State on Sunday. Texas Tech certainly will be one of the better teams the Cowboys will play this year, and they're 2-0. Plus, former UW head coach Jeff Linder is an assistant with the Red Raiders, so there'll be a reunion today. So the Cowboys will get a taste of what they're really made of, and this is a 6 p.m. start from Lubbock tonight. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KCGY in Laramie. And the Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team will host Regis from Denver this evening in Laramie. The Cowgirls are 0-2 with losses to Colorado and BYU. And then back on Saturday in Provo in that BYU game, UW endured just a horrible third quarter. They were just 1 of 12 in the field and basically let the Cougars run them out of the gym with a 31-6 third quarter explosion. It is a 4-quarter game, and the Cowgirls need to play all 4. It'll be a 6:30 start from the AA in Laramie tonight. That's it in sports.
Okay. Well, once again, there's a whole lot going on.
Yeah. For all the people who want to contribute their thoughts on our app,
yes,
I want you to think about this. Have you got better things to do?
No.
No, not you, them.
No. They don't either. Frank, they listen to this program every morning.
Why?
That's what I want to know. And so they have nothing better to do, obviously. And so commenting on things like this topic is exactly what they live for.
That is some scary stuff,
It
Glenn.
is, but that's who my audience is, Frank.
That is some scary stuff,
I know
Glenn.
them well.
I want you to think about that when you're looking all day, because I am now.
When I'm brushing my teeth in the morning, I'm going to look in the mirror and go, boy. Thank you, Frank. All right, coming up on some local business we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. Now, it's a survey. It lets you guys get in on it. When you're at work and you have to use the toilet, what? Do you, or do you just wait till you get home because you just can't bear doing it at work? Just let me know.
I'm so happy to be here. Yeah. I'm just happy to be here. Still, I know the world's on fire, the situation's dire. A lot of work and courage gonna be required, but I'm just happy to be here. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah. I'm just happy to be here. Still, I know the world's on fire, the situation's dire. A lot of work and courage gonna be required, but
.06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. It's a Wednesday, so over the hump we go.
Today's show is sponsored by chocolate-covered beaver tail, made with authentic artificial beaver tail.
It's the authentic artificial that gets me every single time. So there's certain places in Wyoming that if you go out to, you might look at it and think to yourself, wow, this is a whole lot of nothing. And I know if you live in Wyoming, especially long enough, you've seen quite a few of those places. But some of those places have a lot of historic significance. For example, take in Medicine Bow. We have the Intercontinental Railroad, which had a very important stop there. Lincoln Highway, that was a very important stop. The novel The Virginian was written there, which also has the Virginian Hotel, but that was made into TV shows and movies at the same time. And one of the most important little forgotten airstrips in all of our region is right there. But if you're in Medicine Bow, you wouldn't see it unless you knew to drive up over the railroad tracks and up the hill behind it. Now, that little airstrip still has a building left and a beacon, which used to work. So there's a gentleman, his name is Nate. He's on the phone with me now. Nate, are you still in Florida?
I am actually still in Florida.
Yeah, okay. Nice weather there, so enjoy that while you can.
Yes.
Soak it up. So you and I have both been to this little airstrip. I've written numerous articles, made a few videos on it. So have you as well. You've landed at the little airstrip there. The place is kind of falling apart, but according to the last couple of videos that you've done there, you're interested in restoring this place for historic reasons, and I think just for the love of it.
Yeah, I always say you have a few moments in life that really drive you, whether it's driven by passion and purpose, and restoring and saving this particular site is one of those passion-driven purposes. And Medicine Bow, is not very often heard on the radar of Wyoming. And this place, however, nearly 100 years ago, was a major staple in airway navigation and airmail delivery, and it's pretty much the reasoning behind why airmail was so successful versus other delivery methods.
If you head up there, for those who haven't, not only will you see a little building, which used to run the little tower, which I think you said at one time was, natural gas that ran up and then electricity?
It used to be kerosene,
kerosene,
and then they went to electricity, and it was also the weather station at the time for weather reports.
And there's a little building there. Now, if you do look at some historic photos, you can find there used to be two other little cottages. So if someone was flying cross-country in airmail, which, by the way, World War I surplus biplane was the first airmail with very little navigation. Can you imagine, Nate, flying cross-country in the middle of winter in Wyoming in one of those?
Is mind-boggling. And I think one of the main factors was the aircraft, they were usually de Havilland DH-4, which was a type of airplane that was surplus Army aircraft, and they're open cockpit, and these guys were flying not only in really rough elements, but the blizzards. And if you ever get a chance, look up a pilot named Jack Knight. He had crash-landed about 8 miles southeast of Medicine Bow in a blizzard in minus 50-degree temps, and not only survived the crash, but hiked to Medicine Bow with the mail bag because his objective was to deliver the mail.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, didn't forget the mail bag. Some people would have said, screw the mail, we'll come back and get it. Took the mail bag with him. All right.
It took it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this little airstrip, I did walk out. I suppose you've done this too. Walked out to the end of one of these strips there. I guess that's along the old taxiway. And there's one hangar left, but there used to be more than that in there as well. And the airstrip is still like grass and dirt, but pretty good condition, all things considered, I'd say.
It's amazing. In fact, we just recently had a fly-in there that had the most airplanes there in the last 90 years. And we had a multitude of aircraft show up. So I have an open cockpit airplane myself that's based off a 1920s design, and I flew it up from Colorado, and we landed there, and half the guys that landed the aircraft there said it was one of the nicer grass strips that they've ever landed on. And some of them have aircraft that you normally wouldn't land on a questionable strip with because of the clearance of the prop, and every single one of them said in shocking persona that they said this is one of the nicer strips. And it's amazing because it is maintained to some degree, but it also is not, and yet every pilot approved of it.
I really was surprised to hear that, too, because last time I was out there, I walked those runways. And the first thing I kept thinking about is how many prairie dogs have decided to move into the runway.
It's shocking. And the airport manager there, Brian, is a phenomenal guy, and he has this little team that goes out there, and I'd say badger holes are the biggest problem, and they've done such a good job in the last year of mitigating that. And, in fact, we're going to have another fly-in there next year, and we're really excited because, you never want to encourage airplanes to fly into an unknown strip. And now I confidently can say, hey, this airstrip is really nice, and if you have a plane that you're worried about landing, this one is not a problem. And that's great to not have to go back and redo the entire airstrip. Like it's really retained a quality runway over all these years.
But there are a few things that you would like to redo. Like, for example, the one remaining building that's there, which used to be the radio room, and it ran the electricity for that beacon. We'll get to the beacon in a moment. But that old building needs some fixing up, and you and I have both found some historic pieces of paper in there.
It really is amazing. So every time I've gone back, I originally flew the airmail routes, which SL, if you're ever wondering, this is what this site is. It's called SL-032. It's site number 32, and that stood for Salt Lake to Omaha. And it was 32 because it was 325 miles from Salt Lake. And so I flew the airmail route on my paramotor, which is a paraglider with an engine on your back. And when I stopped at this site and I was exploring the building itself, I climbed up in the rafters just to explore, and I ended up finding a multitude of weather reports. Some of them were dated 1930, 1931, and I saved all these because they're historical, and it shows what type of weather they experienced, the date, the time frame, and the stuff that we found in that building and how it still survived is mind-boggling.
Right. And for those weather reports, folks, they're on a little ticker tape, and it's written in code, which pilots to this day still have to learn that code, even though it's from way back then. Now, the building, it's seen better days. It's more than just a paint job. Some work needs to be done in there.
Yes, and so the number one thing that I'd say the number one focus on this is the roof. The roof now is at a point where any substantial amount of moisture or snow, it's leaking into the rafters. And that's the first fix. Obviously, the windows, the floor is in still good shape, but we want to really restore it to the original look, which was white with a red stripe. And you can actually see some of the remnants on the north side of the building where the original colors still kind of somewhat show. But I would say this year rolling into next year is adamant that we save the structure, the roof, and the interior, because I really feel that in the next few years it's going to be beyond a state of repair.
Right. And we're not talking about a really big building here. I mean, about what size would you give that thing?
I'd say it's probably 25 feet by 30 feet, and if that's a generous size. And really keeping the historical significance behind it is our objective, but also having it to where it's restored in a way that it lasts another 50 years for the next generation of potential aviators to see what pilots went through and the safety measures that they took to try to survive nearly 100 years ago.
Okay.
I think the tower itself, we're not so worried about in the environmental standpoint. They're structurally is perfect, but the building itself, it's wood, and wood only can last so long when it's especially exposed to moisture.
Okay. Now I'm talking to Nate, who's from Colorado. He goes by Sir Drifto. Go ahead and look up that YouTube page. There's a lot of adventures there on the YouTube page worth following. Now, you went ahead and climbed the ladder and went all the way up to the top, which I haven't done yet. But that tower, it's still got a lot of glass. It used to have a rotating beacon up there. And part of it, some of the glass is broken out, and it looked like some big bird of prey moved in there at one point. So you would have to clear all that out, and I'm curious about how you're going to get that thing rotating again.
Well, the objective was, believe it or not, this lamp was a 1,000-watt Mazda projecting lamp, and it was 1 million candle power brightness. Which if you think of how long ago that was, that's incredible. Yeah. And a lot of the glass, and we found a company that still supplies the glass. Believe it or not, this housing is still used on a lot of airport beacons. So the objective is, it still rotates. All the mechanicals are still up there. I actually inspected it maybe a month ago when I was up there, and everything still looks good. We do need to replace the glass. We need to get the lens, the bulbs, and everything, and the source ring behind that is the objective. And then also getting electric supply to it, which good news is the power supply is only 100 feet away from this site. And Brian, the airport manager, has stated that, hey, we can get power to this. That's no problem. And so now it's just finding the items needed, the lenses, the bulb, get it repainted, and, the demographics behind that. Do we need to get a crane out there to get the lamp off to be rebuilt? How do we go about this? Right. So it's as much of a new endeavor to me as anybody else, and I think my favorite part about this is the outpouring of help that is starting to roll in.
Right. Now, real quick, Rocky is up in Gillette. He points out the concrete arrow that's down there because that's at the base of the tower, and that's a 100-year-old concrete arrow which used to say to the pilots up above, go that way.
Yes. And believe it or not, these are all over the United States, and a lot of them are in still really wonderful condition. And they were spaced apart a certain amount of miles. And so when a pilot would see that arrow, he would aim his aircraft in the direction that arrow pointed in hopes that in the next segment he would see where to turn next, which
Okay.
is amazing.
Let's get into how people can help out. Now, again, folks, this is Medicine Bow, Wyoming. It's a little airstrip there. If you go to Medicine Bow and ask people where it is, they can give you easy directions to go have a look at it for yourself. Or look at the stories that I'm posting about this on the Wake Up Wyoming website. What do you need for help?
So our biggest objective right now is we have a lot of physical labor help. We need help finding the lenses. We need the mechanicals of the towers and how to get, sourcing those parts. We also are going to set up a GoFundMe site just to kind of, yes, there are grants available for this type of site, but also we've been turned down several times because the FAA said no, because it's not an actual airport that they maintain or get funding for. And so any funding to restore the building and the tower is going to help us. And I think our biggest objective is I have a goal to have that tower spinning a year from our last fly-in. So we're going to host another fly-in next fall. And my objective is to have that building restored and that tower lighting up once again for all the pilots to fly into and see. And it's a goal that I'm going to stick to. And hopefully with all the help coming out, it's going to happen.
Joel is in Casper. He says, what kind of lamp is needed? I run an electrical supply store.
Well, that's where we're going to find out. Now, we found part of the blueprints to the original tower, and so we're getting all this information on the lenses, what to look for, and I can get all that information to whoever might have a source of finding it.
I'll send Nate some information, and we'll get everybody together. I'm sorry, Joel, some information from you, Nate, and we'll see if we can get everybody together. All right. As you progress, because I know you're going to be working on this for quite a while, let's keep in touch, and I'll keep getting you on the air and keep following up with stories for everybody, because I know already a lot of people want to get involved with this. It's a worthy project. All right.
I think the biggest objective, too, is that we're going to have a big fly-in next year, and everybody that really wants to come out and see this, we're going to have like a gathering of airplanes. I think that's an event that I would really emphasize on citizens to come out to and see it, because it'll be the biggest gathering in nearly 100 years.
Yeah. What if I can get the governor out there? I know the guy. I might be able to talk to him about that. All right.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, thank you, Nate, for coming on this morning. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
And we're back. Sorry, we were busy tricking pescatarians into eating Rocky Mountain oysters. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
9:26 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. I see Greg and Laramie, but hold on, Greg. Jerry wants to talk about the Medicine Bow airstrip. Hello, Jerry.
Hey, good morning, Glenn. How you doing?
Good, sir. What you got?
Well, I've been in and out of that Medicine Bow Airport many times. My plane even got stuck in a prairie dog hole one day, so watch out for those boogers.
Yeah.
But talking about your beacon, the Worland Airport had a beacon just like that, and they've removed that with a modern beacon that you can't see for 10 feet.
Yeah.
But they might have the old beacon there that would have a lot of parts that you could maybe use.
And where is this again?
Worland.
Worland.
Up north there, about 160 miles.
Oh, I know where Worland is. Yeah, okay, I'll go talk to the people in Worland, see if they still have that. Maybe we can get it down there.
Yeah, but it was working, and they took it out. I think it just had reached the point where they couldn't maintain it anymore.
Right.
But I know it had the lenses and the bulb and everything for it.
Okay. All right, I'll let him know, see if he can give Worland a call, and maybe that's an answer to a lot of his problems.
Yeah, it might be. But anyway, I enjoyed your comments on it.
All right. Thank you very much for calling. Appreciate it. Off we go to Laramie, where Greg is waiting by. Hello, Greg.
Hello, Glenn.
Yes, sir.
I could talk about beacons and FAA stuff, but I was going to talk about the pooping at home versus pooping at the office.
No, okay.
Was there a gender breakdown on this? Because I thought a lot about this.
No, that would be interesting to see if there was. Do women prefer to wait and just get home, or is it the men who will hang on? I'm not sure.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one. I'm something, and I've always, during COVID, I mean, obviously people could go whenever they wanted, and I've been wondering whether, holding it for a while may be better for processing, but if you hold it too long, you become constipated, become an angry person.
No,
I do think there are health benefits to either not or when. So it'd be really great to continue this discussion.
Uh-huh.
I was always
in depth.
I worked on the second floor. I always went to the third floor to increase
I
the
see.
gravity.
Yes, I see. Yeah.
and I've always advocated that there should be one place where you still allow smoking, and that's in the bathroom.
Oh, really? Okay. So you were into
So that would
smoking
be
in the
my-
boys' room. I got you. Okay.
Well, no. I never
see.
took up smoking, but I would much rather smell the light waft of tobacco.
Oh, I see.
And the light waft of the various,
of your coworkers. All right, Greg. Thanks for calling. I appreciate it. And also, Philip in Casper. Hey, Glenn, do you have any info? Mountain West digging up yards around here? No, I don't. I'll see if I can find. I'll see if I can find anything out about it, but I really don't about that. Okay, I will let the gentleman I just interviewed know about the possibility of maybe there's a beacon or parts of one that he can get from the Worland Airport. We'll see how that works out. Appreciate your help on this. This has got to be like a year-long project to get everything done. I think the tower is the most important part. All right, local news coming your way. After local news, update on the weather forecast. Wake up, Wyoming.
It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio. Join the show at 888-97-WOODS.
9:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. All right, 888-97-WOODS, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. And because of the guest I had on just a few minutes ago, and I appreciate all of your help. I did send them the note that maybe there's a tower or replacement parts in Worland from an old tower there. And some of the other information about the Medicine Bow Airport that you guys sent me, I've passed along. He gives himself about a year, he hopes, to get everything done, and then a big fly-in there and a big party, and I'll keep you guys posted. And Worland Airport is, I keep saying Worland, the Medicine Bow Airport is a very historic place. And if you think about Medicine Bow, when I first drove there, the first time I arrived there, I was driving around the little town thinking I was completely unimpressed. And then I finally thought, I need to read The Virginian, such a famous novel. And the first line in The Virginian, the main character gets off the train right there at the depot, and he looks at Medicine Bow, and he's completely unimpressed. So it doesn't look like much. But the kind of history that's happened in this little unassuming place out in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming, a lot of history has happened there. And so the airport was a big part of it, just a grass airstrip, which back then they were all grass airstrips. And 2 cute little buildings that were cottages, so the pilots had a place to stay, weather, mechanical issues, whatever the case is. A groundskeeper for the airport who also did weather reports and ran the beacon. And the original beacons were fire, and then they turned them into electric later on. So it's now an electric beacon, but it doesn't work anymore. The buildings, the old cottages are gone, the hangars are gone. One hangar remains, needs some help. But the building that ran the tower is still standing, but it needs a lot of help. So to get all of that back together, and I would like to put some kind of historical marker there, but that would get people interested, because I do know some folks like to fly into that little grass strip in Medicine Bow. Then they go down to the Virginian and have lunch. And, of course, the Virginian Hotel, old historic hotel. So much happened in that little unassuming town. So that's why I think things like this are worth restoring. And, of course, you know my passion for aviation, so that's a big deal, too. Real quick, we haven't checked in on Liz Cheney this hour to see how she's doing after the results of last week's election. Liz, how you doing? Okay, Liz. All right. Okay. All right. Poor woman. Another story we should watch out for here today. University of Wyoming trustees expected to consider a draft ruling to allow for the concealed carry of firearms on UW campus. Now, if you'd like to be part of this discussion, our man in Cheyenne, Doug Randall, put up a story about this, One of the meetings is online tonight, and the next meeting is in person on Monday. So Thursday, November 14th, tomorrow, for Thursday, November 14th at 12:30 p.m., and then Monday, November 18th at 12:30 p.m. in the West Ballroom of the Wyoming Union. And that's the discussion about how to proceed with allowing students on the UW campus to conceal carry. Should they have a permit? Is there any place they should not be allowed to? Where should they be allowed to? Things like this. Which, of course, as you can imagine, there's people big time pro and con, but this is Wyoming, and we're allowing more and more places for you to have your constitutional rights. And it's even opening up in the Capitol as well. And if you're wondering why the Capitol, our state Capitol, isn't just open altogether to conceal carry, well, it depends on who's in charge of what part of the Capitol. Leave it to government, but different entities of government are in charge of different parts of the Capitol. Depends on where you're standing. So you could be standing one place in the Capitol, and your legislative body is in charge of that, but take one step over and there's another, it might be the bureaucracy or the governor or something like that, could be in charge of a different part of the Capitol. So that's got to be sorted out. And the same thing for the University of Wyoming as we sort through this issue. So, one event tonight, and there's a story on the KGAB website for this, Thursday, November 14th, 12:30 p.m., I believe that's an online meeting, and then Monday, November 18th at 12:30 p.m., West Ballroom of the Wyoming Union. And there's going to be different panelists speaking there, and, of course, the general public will be allowed. RSVP for the events, it's all there on the story that our man in Cheyenne put up on the on the KGAB website to hash this out. It's a big, long, involved discussion, and I imagine why it should be, but it's one that we need to have. Personally, again, I'm in favor of it because I would like to have some good guys with guns, and it can't just be anybody with a gun. You've got to have a clean criminal record. You know the drill here in the state of Wyoming in order to be able to conceal carry, even in places like our own capital. You've got to be someone with a clean background, and there's a few other stipulations to it. You're not a felon, things like that. That's part of what they're going to be talking about. We've had the gun discussion before. Now it's a matter of how we proceed in the state of Wyoming with some areas that some people are very cautious about. Schools, as an example. Our Capitol building, our city halls, and our university as well. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Welcome to McDonald's. What can I get started for you today?
Yeah, can I just get a cheeseburger?
Okay, is that going to be offered today?
Yeah, it's going to be offered today.
All right, it's going to be $378.19.
Well, actually, I don't need the cheese. You can take the cheese off.
No cheese?
Yeah, let's do no cheese.
All right, that brings your total down to $312.17.
That sounds better.
All right, and are you going to be paying in full or will you be financing?
Yeah, I'll be financing today.
Okay.
Let's do the finance.
All right, and after interest, your total will be $61 a month for 6 months.
All right.
First window, please. Thank you.
Take Glenn anywhere with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
9:48's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox when Gambino is waiting by. So, some people like to go to the gym, and besides workout, they go to tanning beds. Frank, right? Is Frank there?
Tanning beds.
There he is. Frank. Yes, tanning bed. You've been into it. You've seen. I know you haven't used one, but you've seen them, right?
Well, no, I think there's a guy in Indianapolis who was found dead.
Okay, that's where I was going next.
He was there for 3 days.
Okay, you just completely blew my story because I was going to surprise you with it. Thanks a lot. Yes.
Well, no, I read the same weird stuff you do.
Man found. Well, you didn't read the poop at work story, did you?
No, I didn't.
Got you on that one.
No, you did. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, okay. Man found dead. Planet Fitness tanning bed 3 days after arriving in Indianapolis gym. Now I wonder, if he was there for 3 days, did he cook for 3 days?
You know what? I don't even want to think about it.
Or do those things automatically shut off after a while?
I would think so. They put them on for an hour, and then, but can you imagine those girls who work in the tanning salon, and they open this thing up like a big coffin, and the guy's dead?
I'm surprised the thing didn't go like ding ding, he's done. Missing man was discovered in a Planet Fitness tanning bed Monday, 3 days after he walked into the gym's location in Indianapolis. Body was of Derek Sink, 39 years old, found at 9 a.m., about 4 hours after the fitness center opened. Wow. No one went and checked those tanning beds. This makes me...
Yeah, that's...
I don't want to use one anyway, but no one's cleaning those things?
Well, they're supposed to after every use.
You would think...
What were those girls doing back there?
Exactly right. You're supposed to, on a regular basis, go back there. And I know because, I have a gym membership. So I've been there a couple of times.
So you've seen it and you walk out.
And I see what they do there. And they have people who walk around all the time, even though everybody's supposed to use the equipment, wipe it down immediately. Mm-hmm. I see people all the time who work there who are going around wiping down the equipment. So shouldn't you go wipe down the tanning bed every so often?
Oh, no, they do. Yeah, they do. The hired help here is totally at fault.
Yes, exactly
Get
right.
off your phones and do your job.
God's sakes. Now, Miss Mary is commenting, isn't that the worst way to go out? I bet he was wearing those tiny sunglasses.
Well, you can keep it for his wake.
Exactly right, yeah. But I still...
He'll have a nice tan for his wake, too.
Yeah, well, see, that's what I wanted. I'm going to have to look this up. I'm going to do this while you're doing sports. I want to look this up. Do those tanning beds run for a while and automatically turn off? Or did he cook there for 3 days? And how come there wasn't some timer going, ding, he's done?
Oh, yeah. All right, in men's college hoops tonight, the Wyoming Cowboys with a roadie in Lubbock to meet Texas Tech. The Pokes are 2-0 after an 81-66 win over Tennessee State back on Sunday in Laramie. Texas Tech certainly will be one of the better teams the Cowboys will play this season, and they're 2-0. Plus, former UW head coach Jeff Linder, an assistant with the Red Raiders, will be a reunion today. Cowboys will get a taste of what they're really made of, and this will be a 6 p.m. start from Lubbock tonight. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KCGY in Laramie. Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team in Laramie tonight to host Regis from Denver. Cowgirls are 0-2 with losses to Colorado and BYU. And then back on that BYU game in Provo on Saturday, UW endured just a horrendous third quarter. They made just one shot out of 12 and let BYU run them out of the gym with a 31-6 third quarter explosion. It's a 4-quarter game, and the Cowgirls need to play all 4 quarters. It is a 6:30 start from the AA in Laramie tonight. Wyoming Cowboy football team plays Colorado State this week in the 116th Border War in Fort Collins. The Cowboys are 2-7 overall, 2-3 in Mountain West play after a 49-45 victory over the New Mexico Lobos a couple of weeks ago in Albuquerque. Injuries have been an issue all year for the Cowboys, and on defense, edge rushers Sebastian Harsh and Braden Siders will be out for the CSU game, as well as running back Sam Scott. Receiver T.K. King and Jalen Sargent will return to the lineup on Friday. Now, CSU is 4-0 in league play and 6-3 overall. They've won their last 4 in a row. The Rams are 10.5-point favorites in the game. That's a 6 p.m. start from Fort Collins on Friday. We'll have that for you on K2 Radio in Casper and KOWB in Laramie. And in the NFL, here's a quick rundown of some of the former Wyoming Cowboys did over the weekend. Casper native and Cincinnati linebacker Logan Wilson with 8 tackles in the Bengals' 35-34 loss to Baltimore. Cincinnati's a mediocre 4-6. Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen, 22 of 37 for 280 yards and a rushing touchdown with 2 interceptions in their 30-20 win over Indianapolis. Bills are 8-2, and they have a marquee game on Sunday taking on 9-0 Kansas City. And that's it in sports.
Okay, so I just looked it up. Tanning beds will run for 15 minutes, then they'll shut off.
15 minutes?
Yes, that's it. They don't want
and
you
he was in there for
cooking
3
after that.
days.
He was. Now, here's the next thing, though. So after they get rid of the body, do they clean the tanning bed?
I would take that whole thing out and just throw it in the garbage.
I would throw it out because you know what's going to happen? People are going to walk into that room and go, is this the one that the guy died in?
Well, and obviously the girls working back there go, well, we don't know.
No, I don't know. It could have been that one.
Did somebody die back there?
You know, in fact,
let me check my phone and I'll let you know.
I bet you one of the girls walked back in there and said, boy, it smells like someone died back here. Boom, yes.
Then she called someone else to deal with it.
Yes, exactly right, because she wasn't going to deal with it herself.
Not at all.
There.
No.
So, okay, thank you, Frank. I just sent a note to Miss Mary. You know, I love my job. It's stories like this that make me just love my job. And you guys were great today. I appreciate all the help. Coming up on some local business. News time after that. It's Wake Up Wyoming.